How's it going, laser bursts up? I'll be Sixkilla, welcome back to the letter. We're still Marianne, and we are talking to Mrs. Wright about her relationship again, because that's all Mrs. Wright seems to be able to talk about. While we're trying to design her house, I guess we'll just go with, why don't you decide on your own? Her worry seems simple enough. I mean, it doesn't have to be as difficult as she makes it out to be, right?
Why don't you decide on your own?
Yeah, you got a brain, use it, man. I mean, nothing against Mr. Wright, of course, though whiskey buggered me to no end. Not literally, I hope. By law, she would be the owner of the house. Well, unless they signed a joint property ownership anyway, which is a rare thing as far as I know, especially among these highbrow types. Sure, they could actually love their spouse. I don't doubt the possibility. But money is money, and it makes people do the most horrible things sometimes.
It's your house. You can paint the whole place pink if you want, and there's not much he can do.
The somber expression she has changes to a look of contempt.
I could, but we are husband and wife. Equal partners in marriage, Marianne, though I can see that you don't understand. This is his home as much as it is mine. I'm not going to go behind his back over a room. And how dare you suggest that?
And I'll even talk you down without causing further offence. It's in my attempt to shake off my own drama that I end up tripping right into theirs. Because really, I have no business meddling in the affairs of my clients unless it involves interior design or architecture. Yet here I am, opening my mouth and yapping. I do hate to see a good woman down.
That's not what I meant by it. I just mean that maybe you don't have to get the approval of your husband all the time. Or well, okay, fine. I know nothing about married life, Mrs. Wright. You're right about that. But I still think you're allowed your indulgences every now and then.
Of course, my form of indulgence meant buying an old slate 78 RPM country records which I don't even dare use with my gramophone. For her, it could very well be buying entire houses.
That's just my take on it. A perfect relationship is as rare as hen's teeth. You got what you got. I mean, you're doing well enough without my advice. Sure look it.
It looks to placate her somewhat. She looks away and starts to favour the view outside once more with a faraway look in her eyes.
Feel free to look around the rest of the house. Everything but the theatre should be open. Just call if there's need of me.
Of course, Mrs. Wright.
I really shouldn't open my big mouth in the first place. This sort of thing only gets me in trouble. Keep it clean, keep it simple, and stick to business. That's it. Be professional. But I failed to do that just because of a pretty face. When she turns to leave, she glances back at me before disappearing into the foyer. I look out the window from where she was standing, and I move on. Alone with nothing but my thoughts and her.
Finally, some peace and quiet. Thought the old biddy would never leave.
It's utter madness, this hearing things. I reckon it's the stress, though I don't know what exactly I'm stressed about. If Mrs. Wright was really throwing me for a loop, I'd be worried. If I'm developing some sort of psychosis or disorder, well, I'd call a doctor. But hopefully it isn't that, not right here and not right now. I mean, it could just be that personal talking cricket, the conscience, so to speak. And I'm only noticing now, though if it isn't very helpful. Pushing the dilemma of voices in my head aside, I go back to work. But I can barely make it a few steps before everything tilts and shifts. I don't really stumble, but it feels like I'm being thrown off my feet, and the rest of the world just follows. Though my feet stay firmly on the ground, and even if I stay mostly upright, I feel like I've been heaved and put off balance. I have to close my eyes in the hopes of willing the sudden sense of vertigo away, but when I open them... Whoa. Well, I don't feel any less sick because of the sight that greets me. Damn. This ghost does not fuck around, huh? Blood drip from the walls and the ceiling, pulled downwards and seeping into the curtains and carpet. Yeah. Like, wow. Not subtle. Maybe you could do with a bit more subtlety there, ghost lady. A wave of nausea, stronger than the last, hits me along with the overpowering stench of blood and gore. I want to bolt. The rational part of my head is telling me to flee, and I would have gladly done as it asked, if only I didn't hear her.
In here, Marianne. Come on, I have something to show you.
I could have ignored it. Would have ignored it, if only I'd heard it in my head. But I swear that this time it's coming from one of the rooms, much further in, to the study. And I feel compelled to pay attention. I can't just turn around and leave. Not when it's her. I don't even think as I follow the sound of her voice. Lorraine. Lovely Amanda Lorraine Lazir. Oh my. Lazir Hiona. She was my friend, and the only one that I had at St. Samathans. I was a scholar, the charity case, in a school for privileged and prestigious young girls. They all looked down at me, if they cared to look at me or acknowledge my presence at all. All except her.
Oh, stop your crying. You know better than to listen to Maeve. Why, I ought to teach that butterface a lesson.
Wait, no, lass! I don't want you getting into trouble with the sisters again!
Relax. It's not like I'm going to stomp her and her lackey's arses flat like last time.
Come on, let's just go back to our dorm room. I don't want to be on my Tobler while you go get yourself punished.
You'll be fine. Gip's there with you.
Lorraine was there when I needed her, through my highs and lows. Having her as a friend made being in a strange school away from my father all the more tolerable. She saw this poor helpless girl who was kept down and shunned by everyone else, and being the kind soul that she was, she rescued me. So brave, so beautiful. She was something else.
I'll eat all the chocolates stashed away in your closet if you go.
I can get more. Just don't go complaining to me if you get a tummy ache because of that.
Well, you don't want to get detention on a weekend, do you? It's a Friday. We can go to town and have some karaoke. And we can have a go at druids and demons again. You're not going to miss that just because of Maeve, are you?
Sometimes I question what I did to deserve a friend like her. In the darkest corners of my mind where traitorous thoughts lurked, I thought she only felt sorry for me. Maybe she was just being a good Samaritan, offering a helping hand. And perhaps I'd been too selfish to return the favour.
You have a point. I'll just kick her arse on Monday then.
That's not what I mean!
I know what you mean, Em.
Wait, where are you going? You just told me you wouldn't cause trouble.
I still have something to do. Don't worry. It's not like I'm going to burn down her dorm room or something criminal like that. I'm just going to talk to her. Maybe I'll make it so that her room smells like a dog's air biscuit. That'll make it an excellent weekend. I'll see you in a bit, Marianne. Lots of tubblers.
Because when she told me that she loved me, I couldn't admit that I felt the same way. Not to her, and not even to myself. It was wrong. I was taught that way. Husband and wife, one man, one woman. Unclean, impure. I prayed for her and I for our sins and for salvation. I wanted to apologize for disregarding her feelings so callously. It must have been like a slap to the face for her. But life had gotten in the way. Exams, which were trivial in hindsight, took top priority. I had to keep my grades up, to keep my scholarship, for my father. I told myself I'd apologize to her, when those were over, that I needed to focus first and not let anything distract me. It had been easy when she avoided me like the plague. She was upset, I get that. I thought I had the time to make things right, but...
At 7 in the morning, students found a 5th year dead, assumed to have fallen from her dormitory window.
They told us it was an accident. That was the official statement. But I knew better. She was dead because of me.
Maeve had a hook and I kicked the bucket, didn't she? Ding dong, the witch is dead!
She had, though she didn't say which, Lorraine.
But at least Maeve had the courage to admit how she felt about me.
I didn't even know how long I'd been stuck here in a trance. In the mirror, Lorraine smiles at me. She's as beautiful as I remember her. But then... I feel bile rise up in my throat as her clean image warps into how she looked like when they'd found her dead, lying on the cold, hard ground. Good Saint... Jesus Christ. Difna, a great wonder worker in every affliction of my mind and body, help me. I'm seeing things, hearing things. Am I going completely insane? Looking everywhere but at her, I hope and pray that it's enough to will whatever this is to go away. It doesn't even immediately register in my head that I can just leave.
You, on the other hand, can't even look me in the eye.
This isn't real. You're not. You're dead!
I'm dead. Because of you. And you won't even look at me. Look at me.
My breathing quickens and I can feel my heart being torn apart by her words.
I'm so sorry, Lorraine.
Look at me!
I can't take it because she was right. It was my fault. The least I can do is look at what I've done. Lorraine, broken and bleeding, looks at me with such hate-filled eyes. An unnatural smile stretches across her face. I can only see malice in it. Then she lunges as the mirror ripples around her form, the glass parting like the water's surface for her. She grips my shoulders and I can feel her nails dig deep, sharp, even through the fabric of my clothes.
There you are. You're coming with me.
Oh, did I fail? Whoops. I failed.
Why won't you love me?
Apologies spill through my lips as tears cloud my vision, but I won't give in to this madness. With every bit of strength I have left, I struggle to get away from her. I was hoping the game over screen would have me ripped apart or something. That would have been cool. Fear grips and threatens to choke me. I endure. I escape. And without turning back, I stumble back out. In my panic, I don't even care to look where I'm going. With one hand on the wall to steady me, I just hobble as fast as I can away from the study. Away from that mirror. Freedom is bittersweet. I'm free from the madness it seems as running out into the hallway reveals it to be in pristine condition. But it means I've turned my back on Lorraine. Again. I have no plans of stopping. Not until I know I'm safe. If that means walking back to Luxbourne, as ridiculous as the idea is, then so be it. Someone suddenly grabs hold of me, however. Fingers digging deep into my shoulder, and my heart nearly stops. My body seizes and I nearly scream.
Marianne, you look awful. I mean, not awful, but did something happen? Are you alright?
Mrs. Wright, I...
Without thinking, I sought comfort, seeing that it wasn't her. It's a sudden, impulsive thing to do, and had I been in a better condition, I wouldn't even dare of doing such a thing. We just pissed her off before. This is really going to piss her off. But I didn't know what else to do. Though I know I shouldn't. Her warmth, her scent, they grounded me. She is intoxicating.
Marianne, what's going on? Oh, you're shaking like a leaf.
Tremors ran through my body as soon as my mind realized I'm no longer in danger. I wanted to cry, scream about what I've seen, but like a scared child, I couldn't control myself. My mind couldn't reconcile with what I'd seen. I should just write it off as a figment of my imagination, yet I can still feel her nails cutting into my skin.
Are you sick? Should I call for a doctor?
I'm sorry, Mrs. Wright. Just feeling a little woozy and lightheaded is all.
Let's get you somewhere to sit down then. Come on, don't worry, I have you.
A lie. But a whole lot less complicated than telling her I was attacked by a dead girl. When the feeling of fear eases off, I feel nothing but shame for my actions. I quickly back away and as I clear my throat and nod my thanks.
I think I've had enough looking around. If it's all right with you and Mr. Wright, I'll meet you outside.
If you're sure, I'll have the car started. Do you need assistance heading downstairs?
I'm all right, ma'am. Just go on ahead and I'll be right there.
It seems to placate her worries, though only for a brief second. Before she heads down, I don't miss the concerned glance she shoots my way, hidden quickly under another smile. I won't begrudge her for it, that worry. The look on my face must have been a strange enough sight on its own. Even I'm still reeling from it, from whatever it was. Her voice still whispers in my ears. After all these years, she's still... No, Marianne. Shaking my head off the thoughts, I drag in a breath and then follow shortly after Mrs. Wright. Whatever has happened in the past is long gone. Only memories now. And those are things I can no longer bring back. It's already dark as we make our way out of the mansion. With no lights, we're only illuminated by the headlamps of the Wright's car and the stars up above us. The sight of them helps me compose myself much more than several minutes of being alone did. The car's engine is running, yet the two still stand out on the lawn. Mrs. Wright is busy, eyes up to the stars, and Mr. Wright, arms crossed, has his eyes down on the ground. It's the crunch of the grass under my heels that brings their attention to me.
About time. What took you so long? A minute longer and I'd think the house swallowed you all up.
Oh, hush, dear. I'm sure she has her reasons. Marianne doesn't seem the sort to idle.
Sorry, I was just checking on something important.
See, business is business and they take time, love. You should know that better than anyone. So, Marianne, what do you think? Are you the woman for the job? I know we already signed papers hiring you, but I want to be 100% sure that you are committed.
I glanced back toward the mansion, knowing what I'd seen there, or rather who I thought I saw there, because there's just no way. Not to mention how I acted toward Mrs. Wright, for goodness sake. I should feel the slightest bit hesitant. I was lucky. I've seen enough films to know what happens when a promiscuous woman enters a haunted house. This is my chance to turn it down, make excuses, say that I'm not up to the task, that I need to take care of my old sick father. Just pay the fine, which is probably outrageous for a contract like this, and let it go. I should turn it down. But for some obstinate reason, I can't. In the same manner, I haven't let go of her, of the regret that has shattered me since that day. Much as I hate to admit it, even to myself, seeing her again, the mischievous glint in her eyes, the loose tendrils of her hair curled around her forehead. It's something I've terribly missed, and now that it's here, almost within arm's reach, My father would tell me, sometimes you simply have to go through with it. Consequences be damned. And well, I don't have any logical reason to say no. At least, not something a client like the Wrights would want to hear from a professional designer.
It's certainly an interesting project. You can be sure I'm seeing it through the end.
Such dedication! Oh, I do love the determination.
You were always determined like that, weren't you?
Hearing her voice once again sends a chill running down my back. I can't wait for this day to be over. From the mansion and through Anselm, I rode with them in silence. But as soon as we hit the city proper, I asked to be dropped off and bid them good night. I thought it'd be best if I didn't stay too long in confined spaces with either Mrs. or Mr. Wright. Both seemed to cause me serious trouble, and if the project had been any less interesting or grand, I would have dropped it without a second thought. Would have, shouldn't have, won't. I assure them that my place isn't that far off, and I have to fight off the urge to roll my eyes and groan when whiskey throws me a little smirk. But even in my own home, peace is elusive, as is sleep. I lie awake thinking of what I saw in that mansion, of who I saw. If I so much as hear a single whisper from her, if I so much see a wisp of her hair, I'm afraid I'll go mad. But none of that happens, and it makes me feel hollow. For 2 nights I've had trouble sleeping, but it's only one morning when fatigue has already let me rest that I'm reminded of what terrifies me so. In my restless dreams I see that mirror, the one in the study, and in it I see her. I see them. Lorraine and Hannah. Hannah and Lorraine.
Poor pathetic Marianne. Work, work, work. She'll work herself to death.
See, she doesn't listen. That's all she did. Look at what happened to me.
They talk amongst themselves with cruel smiles and venomous tongues. Or rather to themselves, 2 heads, 1 body. A horrible mockery of these women, as if they were one and the same.
More's the pity. Life goes on and goes out, and she doesn't even see it.
Do you think she'll even realize when she's kicked the bucket herself?
When they say that a person has a hard time telling when they're in a dream, it was true often enough. Even with this bizarre sight, even with the obvious implication that this isn't real, I can't help but feel distress.
Likely. Is that any way to live at all? She might as well be dead.
Cruel fate that she's alive and I'm... well...
Though they speak into each other's ear, tones low and hushed, I can still hear them as clear as day. Their whispers pervade the air, heavy and oppressive. They bury and dig into my head like tiny maggots, worming their way into my skull. It's only then that they take notice of my presence. Eyes turn toward me and I can only feel small under their scrutiny. Caricature smiles etch on their face, mimicking each other grotesquely.
Oh, Marianne! How long have you been standing there, dearie?
Come join us, Marianne. We won't bite. Unless you ask, that is.
Have you been looking at us? Spying? How scandalous. Such a naughty girl.
I'm sure you were just waiting for something lewd to happen, weren't you?
Wait, what kind of dream is this again?
You know she will not admit it. She thinks it wrong. You've said it so yourself.
Yes. She thought me wrong, impure, abnormal, because I loved her.
My breath hitches and I open my mouth to protest, but they stop me, screeching. The mirror that holds them cracks, lines spidering across its surface.
Do not lie! We know the gluttonous thoughts you try to deny, girl. All those desires you bury beneath that sickening guilt. You act the martyr when you turn the bed you lie in into your own hedonistic hell. You are nothing but a tainted soul with filth-stained flesh held together by falsehood and pride.
They look livid, and when it looks like they would lunge, I wake, feeling like the wind had been knocked out of me. With a groan, I squint and find a certain fluff ball sitting on my chest, looking as pleased as Punch. She is the overlady of the cats, queen of despair and destruction of nice furniture. Though I can't say stay mad at Her Majesty because it feels like she did something good this time. I was having a nightmare, but I can't even remember what it was about. Trying to recall leaves a terrible pit in my stomach. Maybe it's probably better that I don't remember.
Good morning, Baruthiel. Who's the good kitty? Are you hungry? Is that why you woke me up?
A content purr from my sweet dear before she jumps off my bed and trots toward the kitchen. On the other hand, it takes a bit more before I roll out of bed and start my day. Mornings before work is always quite a quiet affair. Shower first, then a mug of coffee and a bowl of oats. Sometimes I do stretches and I always check my work email. The Wrights will be moving into the mansion today. I don't think the paperwork is officially done yet, but it isn't too far-fetched to think that they were allowed to start their move despite that. Rich people like them always find ways to get what they want, after all.
I'll be leaving you again today, Beth. So you behave and make sure not to shred up my new covers, okay? And don't worry, I didn't forget tomorrow is Black Cat Day, so I'll throw you a party. But only if you behave like a proper lady.
She barely gives me a glance as I say that, before going back to her own food. Cats. Still better than humans, most of the time. She better have to work with humans. You could design cat houses. The place is already busy as soon as I get here. The foreman, one that I recommended to the Wrights for his work ethic, is early as usual. Already he's instructing men here and there with the bigger loads. I've no chance to talk to him as Mrs. Wright appears and greets me with a smile.
Mrs. Wright, I hope everything has been to your liking thus far.
Good morning, Marianne. It has been delightful and these men have been very helpful. Look at all this. It's so busy here. I'm getting tired just looking at them go.
No complications so far with the movers or the previous owners of the mansion, I hope?
If anything, the only one being problematic is Luke, if I'm to be honest.
As usual then.
He can be such a diva, but I do like that about him.
She stops, looking up at the upper landing where Mr. Wright comes through with two other movers and the mirror from the study.
Oh, do be careful with that mirror. We wouldn't want anyone getting hurt because of broken glass. Why are you even having it carried around?
Oh? You did say you didn't want the mirror, and I keep getting distracted by it. If I'm going to turn the study into my office, I'd rather not have it there.
That's fair.
Where can we put this?
Well, you are not putting it in our room. Why don't you go, I don't know, put it in the wine cellar for now? We can figure out if we'll store it in the attic or somewhere else later, yes?
You heard her, boys. To the cellar it goes. Mush!
The movers bring down the mirror one step at a time, no matter how much the man tells them to hurry. An unsettling feeling grows in my stomach as I see a reflection in the bloody thing. And I look away, not wishing to risk anything. If I see Lorraine's image in the mirror now, I wouldn't know what to do. I don't have the luxury of privacy right now, and I'm not going to break down in front of all these people. As soon as they go to the kitchen, I realize I'm holding my breath. I let out a sigh of relief when I think nobody's looking and I go back to the task at hand. It'll be a terribly busy day, and there's no need for me to even think of anything else. I talk with the foreman, fill him in on which room is which. It seems I'm doomed to get any significant work done without being interrupted when it comes to these particular clients, however.
Marianne, dear, have you had breakfast yet? Well, I do believe it would be considered brunch at this hour.
Oh, yes, Mrs. Wright.
You must join me. Johans has already been breaking in the kitchen, as they say. I do not see the others settling down for a meal anytime soon. Someone might as well enjoy the food while it's hot, and that someone might as well be us.
I should say no. I really must say no. But the way she smiles at me makes it difficult to do so. Look at how ridiculous I'm being, acting like a silly, nervous schoolgirl with a crush. It's just brunch, and who am I to say no to a client? It would be more impolite to do so. It's not like I'm going to agree because of anything other than propriety. I'm not agreeing just because she batted her pretty eyelashes at me.
If you insist.
It really isn't any of those. Sounds like you're trying to convince yourself. But it's something about her eyes, rather. She looks like she needs a good talk. A friend. And although I'm not supposed to be chummy with my client, there's no harm in pretending, right? Probably is. Of course, I've been wrong on many occasions before. Maybe there's plenty of harm in pretending that I care. Because pretending I care might actually lead to actual caring. Being alone in the same room as the missus leaves me reeling as I find myself paying too much attention to her. It seems so borderline unhealthy, how much I'm getting obsessed, even if it's just by looking. And it's just the little insignificant things that I notice. The way she plays with her hair, or how she smooths down her dress.
Up, higher, come on now.
Whiskey's annoying voice in the other room helps pull me back to the ground. I'm just looking, aren't I? I know that someone like her wouldn't even look at someone like me. Still, there's some time to turn around this bad decision.
I'd really like to thank you for inviting me to breakfast, Mrs. Wright, but I already ate, so I should really go back to work.
Nonsense! You arrived so early. You must not have gotten a proper meal.
But we're having brunch.
Sit. Sit! I'd situate us in the dining hall, but it is a mess right now.
Her concern is sweet, as is her smile. But I'm really not here for idle chit-chat. Something I keep forgetting. We're both distracted when the food arrives, and it's enough for me to stay, at least until the meal is over. No more, no less. Just to be polite. Thankfully, the conversation steers into a topic I'm comfortable with. Work. This goes on for a bit, and I can't be more relieved. Most people don't understand calling me a workaholic, but I choose to work in a field I'm enthusiastic about. So what if my career is also my hobby?
But no, really, how have you liked it so far?
Oh, it has been wonderful, believe me. Everything is going smoothly too. It has been a long time since I've worked on something on this grand a scale. Nowadays, everyone is about condos and flats, living in the city where every room is an identical box. Believe me, this is very refreshing.
We lived in a condo before this, Marianne.
I didn't mean any insult.
It's fine, sweetie. Look at you, all frazzled. I was just pulling your leg. Luke wanted that penthouse when we got married, and you can thank him for purchasing this place as well.
Wait, doesn't she own the house? I'm pretty sure. I have no business with it though. It's theirs to hash out. But apparently, the momentary confusion had been visible on my face.
Don't be fooled. I'm just the treasury. I wouldn't be able to make a purchase this grand without his seal of approval.
I see.
That's it. That's all you have to say.
Yes, what else is there to it? Without warning, this nice friendly chat devolved into something horrible. Something sad.
But I really don't know what to say, Mrs. Wright. We were talking of no topic in particular, and...
Luke. We were talking about Luke.
About him not eating breakfast with you?
About him treating me as if I were some treasury.
Despite my general dislike of the upper class, I sometimes feel pity for them. They may have all the money in the world where material things aren't a problem, but they don't even see what they've become, where they've ended up, or what they've done most of the time. They're shut in by their own trap, forced to play along with society's expectations and do anything to stay where they are, to keep what they have. A world where even people feel or are treated like they're mere possessions. When someone's at the top, the only way for them to go is down. I've worked with so many Hannahs and Lukes and Whiskies, but I've never been one of them. I don't pretend to understand their world any deeper than that. I merely know what I've witnessed before. She looks lost, speechless at how she portrayed herself. My pity for her, the likes of her, returns. Nothing but pity moves me as I speak before she can say anything else that might ruin or break her.
I won't speak a word, Mrs. Wright. Not only am I contractually obliged to, it would also go against my principles. This is no one else's business but your own, and it should be kept between the two of you, and whoever you wish to seek counsel from.
Please, Marianne. You have to understand these sort of affairs. If anyone were to know this, they could just twist it and we'll be ruined.
Ruined? How would you be ruined though? Would they take all your money, somehow?
All I ask for is your silence on the matter.
The way she practically begs me to keep quiet about it is disheartening. I have no plans of speaking about anything I hear, especially if it is about their private affairs. But the way she looks at me, the way she just expects some sort of fallout because of this, makes my heart clench.
Well, I'm keeping that information confidential as well.
It's not like I have any other choice, do I?
Thank you.
When the last of the food and drink is gone, the door opens as if on cue.
Madam, the photographer from Luxury Living is here.
This was a wonderful meal, Marianne. You're free to return to your duties. I must excuse myself.
It was my pleasure. And thank you for the food as well.
She stands up to leave, and all I want to do is reassure her again, to prove that I am someone she can trust. So when she looks back my way, I didn't fight the smile that found its way on my face. I feel giddy. But the feeling dies down afterwards, as I sober up. Oh well, back to work. Soon enough I find myself drawn to the kitchen where the right butler is returned to. He's already claimed the space and telling movers to back off, and none dares to question his proclamation either.
My kitchen. No kinder allowed. Little men running around with knives especially. We do not want any accidents to happen now, do we? Good? Good.
I mean, it's a knife-wielding German standing there. I don't think anyone would be insane enough to refuse his request.
I hope I meet the age restriction. Or at least the height restriction. Because I'm asking to be let in here.
You are allowed inside, McCulloch, but not the little ones.
A shake of my head and a roll of my eyes is all I give him. It's not like I'm going to be of any trouble to him, I just need to look around, get my bearings. The breakfast has been distraction enough. I didn't even want to think about what we just talked about. I just need to get my head straight and get back to work. The movers work efficiently, even when they're left alone, and they do quick work of their responsibilities. The head foreman comes in, standing in the doorway to consult me on this or that, and I have to go help out every now and then. But they pretty much have everything up to standard. They skip lunch entirely, not even realizing when they do so. Nevertheless, all is well as the butler gets to heating up the leftover bubble and squeak from breakfast and makes a generous batch of fish and chips for them. Most likely simple in comparison to what he serves to the rights, but well done nonetheless.
That smells good. Want to wrap up some for me to go?
It's an idle observation more than anything. My thoughts as they are preoccupy me.
If there are any left, one can't go wrong with fish and chips. Everyone loves them. Even my husband. And he's American.
I really do hate getting so up and close with pester with my clients. It's a distraction. It's true, fish and chips are great. We had fish and chips last night. Fantastic. It's obvious to me that I've gotten my priorities all wrong when I can't help but think about what I learned about the right couple. These things have a way of creeping up on a person. Thoughts, ideas, whether they're fact or fiction. They creep up and fester, crawl and writhe in a way that twists. I hear giggling, delighted and mocking. They creep up and the sensation of fingers ghosting briefly on my arm causes me to freeze and hiss.
Don't!
I half expect her to be there.
Whoa, no need to scream bloody murder. It's just me. Quiet down before you break glass.
But it's just whiskey.
Don't do that again. Ever.
I don't like being scared, though I don't believe in the likes of spooks. Being startled is not on top of the list of things that Marianne liked. Luckily for him, I have nothing within reach, or he would have gotten on friendly terms with something like a rolling pin.
What was with that reaction? Were you really scared? Has Johann's been telling you ghost stories? He just loves to scare people. Isn't that right, Brother Gurium?
He is pretty scary. The butler's expression is unreadable. I hardly see any emotion on his face to begin with since I started working for the Wrights, aside from vague amusement. There must have been something there though, judging from Mr. Wright's own content look. The expression on Mr. Wright's face is almost cruel. And neither of them spoke, even as Johans leaves the room to serve the workers their late lunch.
So, now that we're alone, Marianne, what are you so jumpy for?
I was just thinking about all the urban legends the movers have been telling me about this place.
Don't tell me you believe in that tosh. They're nothing but tales made up to scare children. Timmy, Billy, don't you dare go up to that big mansion and get in trouble there. The ghosts are going to get you.
That's a boring way to look at it, but that's usually what it is anyway, no? Like I said, I was just thinking.
It would be a relief actually if those rumors to this place being haunted are true. That just means I'm not going bonkers. Hearing, let alone seeing a dead person isn't exactly the symptoms of a healthy mind. Sure, it means that there'd be such thing as ghouls and goblins, but at least I'd be sane. On the other hand, there would actually be a dead girl walking around.
If you could excuse the inane question, Mr. Wright. You haven't noticed anything weird here?
A simple enough question on the surface, yet I notice the man stiffen as the question leaves my mouth. I wouldn't have noticed if I wasn't watching his reaction intently, but in his eyes, I see something dangerous.
It depends on your definition of the word weird. Are we still on the topic of this place being haunted? Because no, things have not started to fly around and we have yet to require an exorcism. I don't think my head would like to do the whole 180-degree turn thing.
I'd like to make your head do the whole 180-degree turn thing.
Well, maybe that, but no strange people?
Aside from my usually weird butler and all the weird men traipsing around touching my things? No, not really. Why do you ask? Have you noticed anyone strange while you were here? Because you must report it to Johans and he'll have security handle it. But these reports better not be about ghosts and things that go bump in the night. I don't want to waste manpower on the boogeyman or senseless witch hunts.
You know, it takes a lot of mans to take down a boogeyman.
I'll keep that in mind, Mr. Wright. But no, it's nothing like that. I guess the mansion is just strange for me. It's a unique project.
No strange men or women lurking about then?
A dead teenager would technically qualify as strange. But yeah, the whole I see dead people thing isn't going to go over well.
None that I know of. But I'll inform Johans immediately if something comes up.
I'm serious, Mint. You see anything, anyone suspicious, and you report it. Immediately.
I think that goes without saying.
The concern he has on the talk of security is quickly gone. His arrogant, smug smirk returns, if a bit subdued. Whatever smarmy remark or innuendo he has at the ready never comes through, as voices from the dining hall ring out.
So, is this a full-time job for you then?
Nah, I just freelance mostly, for magazines, newspapers, and events. So you can't really call it a full-time job. It's fun and it puts food on the table, but it's not what I really want to do. At least not all the time.
That would be the magazine photographer, I presume. As always, Mrs. Wright talks in such a kind and cheery fashion no matter who she's talking with. It certainly puts people at ease around her. It sounds like it's working on the photographer too. Hearing them though, seems to put Mr. Wright in a sour mood. At least, if his small scowl is anything to go by. Is he jealous? He tried to bang us, so he doesn't really have any right to be. Anyway, we're going to wrap this one up here, as we're out of time for today. I can't believe we're still in Marianne. I'd say next one must be the last one for Marianne. Who's next? Rebecca. Ooh, that'll be interesting. I can't really pin Rebecca down. Ashton seems like kind of a tosser, and Luke seems like an absolute tosser. So, it's going to go downhill after that. I'm not sure about Rebecca. She might be a tosser too. But we'll see. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in the next one.